Today in the crypto space, we see the market taking a bit of a dip. Bitcoin down approximately 1.5%, below the $67,000 mark, and Ethereum below the $2,500 level. Not looking good for the altcoins. A few dips to be had: Aptos, Sui, Near Protocol, Tau, and many others coming down to much lower levels. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, one project that is still at the bottom of the range, looking for that bounce, and that project is called PYTH. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this market. We can see that their overall market cap is definitely taking a bit of a hit in the short term. Just a bit, not too much. Slightly below the 2.4 trillion. Yes, we're down approximately 2.8%. What's bothering me the most here is the trading volume increasing as the market cap is falling. That means that the market is in pretty much consensus here for a dip. Not a good look. This is not what we want. We want to see the market cap rise, and we want to see volume rise. We want the market participation to be in agreement to go up rather than down. So not a good look in the short term. And as we start looking at what's happening with Bitcoin, Bitcoin is very volatile, very emotional times here in the crypto space, because Bitcoin is just going up and down like it has no direction. And unfortunately, when there is no direction in the market, a lot of us, obviously, we get very emotional about the condition. Bitcoin going sideways, doing its thing, right around 67,000 all day long. Not the greatest. Ethereum, bottom of the range type of look here. You can see that. Is it a bear flag for continuation down? Possibly. And we see some of the altcoins not looking the greatest either, including Solana down approximately 4.2%. As the market does look a little bit weak, guys, now it's the opportunity to come up with a plan to, where do we accumulate? Where do we buy the dip? How do we raise capital to take full advantage of this type of volatility? Because it could be the last opportunities to be piling in. And we're going to take a look at the PYTH chart in a second here, because ultimately it's one of the examples of how you can see a project slowly rounding at its bottom and eventually going to be looking for a breakout. And as we form these very complex bottoms, we should be taking advantage of all those little dips along the way as we form that bottom, eventually making slightly higher lows and slightly higher highs and forming that bottom. Then when the train leaves the station, it is very hard to actually get your position in. So at this current moment, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Obviously, PYTH, very intertwined with the Solana narrative. We'll definitely take a look at that one in a second. And let's continue going down here. Let's quickly look. You can see lots of a few little dips here, trying to push to lower levels. Some projects are still holding up, still kind of looking okay, like Uniswap. And if you look at it, even the dip for today, it's, more or less on average about 2%. Near Protocol looking worse than others, of course. Sui also not looking the greatest. Aptos down 8.2%, not looking the greatest. And if you continue going down the market, you can see that the top gainers, the majority of the strength that we've been seeing in the market are the projects that are actually taking the bigger dip. And you have to understand why. The reason behind it is because of the volume gaps left behind. When a project runs up really hard, there's empty spaces of volume where there's no support. And this is why we're seeing some of these projects dip down a little bit. And as you can see, we do have some good sideways price action on some projects, like even Stacks looking okay based on the Bitcoin narrative. We can see some good stuff there. And Filecoin, but still grinding, guys. We're still making lower lows and lower highs on the lower time frame. So we got to be very patient here. Very patient. Let this dip, finish. Are we going to see a red weekend, or are we going to flip green, flip bullish, and start seeing some really good recovery over the weekend, guys? Just keep in mind that the weekends are tough times to trade. Guys, if you want to join me live tonight at 8 p.m. EST, I'll be live talking about crypto news and price action, and you can make any requests. You can request any projects that you want me to cover, and I'll definitely pull up some charts to see if we can find some good setups, for the weekend, or even for early next week. We got to be prepared, guys. So a lot of red in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, and ultimately we need to have a plan. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin first. We'll take a look at Bitcoin just to use it as an indicator, because what is Bitcoin doing, and ultimately what Bitcoin does is going to impact the altcoin market. So we'll quickly look at this, use it as an indicator, and then we'll jump right into the PYTH chart. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin. Literally, here on the daily, it's still making higher highs and higher lows. There's no doubt about it. You can see that we made a high, and low, low, low. They're all higher highs and higher lows. Very clear. So the trend is still there. The issue is that in the meantime, within this structure that we're forming, do we come down and test this, diagonal? It's very possible, guys. It's very, very possible. Now, do we actually break? Maybe come down lower? It's possible as well. I'm hoping that at worst case scenario, if the market decides to continue coming down, that we get support once again here at about 60,500. For me, that's an important zone. I'm keeping an eye on it. But in the meantime, I have no choice but to remain bullish. And the reason being is because we're still in a good spot. And the meaning that the spot is right below resistance, where we could flag out here. Let's keep it open for possibility, and eventually break to the upside and leave a lot of people blindsided, a lot of people leaving them behind and not, exposing themselves to the volatility to the upside, which at the end of the day is a really bad feeling. It definitely is painful. So what I want to make sure is that I'm not that individual, and I'm going to be waiting for a structure, even if it's on the lower time frames, like the 4-hour, to wait and see what happens. You can see that at the current moment, we could be hanging out here for a little longer. And I'm willing to wait to find out. Why? Because my entries were epic. My entries were here at the bottom and on a lot of my altcoins, and I'm waiting to see if we can actually break out here. There's no indication that we can at the current moment. There is a bit of hesitation, resistance that's expected. But if we can offload a lot of the short-term traders that traded from here to here, or even here to here, and then onboard long-term traders and looking for a bigger break to the upside, guys, ultimately we have a good chance of breaking out. Because big picture, again, if you're a big picture trader, you're trading this cup and handle. That's what you're really trading. If you're a big macro trader, you're trading this cup and handle, and you're expecting an eventual breakout. And imagine if that happens at the current moment and it doesn't get rejected. You're going to be left on the sidelines, and that's very, very painful. That's going to be very painful. So ultimately, I don't want to be that individual. I rather, sacrifice a little bit of my gains on a retracement on my trading account rather than exiting positions without confirmations of a reversal. It does look like it's hesitating, but no confirmations, guys. So take it easy there. Now, today we're seeing a bit of a dip, and you can see that Bitcoin did come down as well. But big picture, nothing's wrong here. Nothing is wrong. It didn't even make a lower low. So we have to be really real with what's happening. All coins are taking a bigger hit than expected. Bitcoin dominance is slightly up. We'll talk about all of this tonight at 8 p.m. EST. No worries, join me live. Okay, guys, let's jump right into the PYTH chart. We'll do the daily. Obviously, we'll look at the daily just to kind of get a big picture of what's happening with PYTH. Now, we also have to understand, that PYTH is part of a very important narrative. Couple of them. It dabbles into, of course, the Oracle narrative, which for smart contracts, if you're new to cryptos, for smart contracts, oracles are necessary. It is the data feed for smart contracts. If a smart contract needs information that is out of its internal mechanism, let's say, of the contract, it needs a feed. It needs somehow to tap into a feed so it can retrieve data sets, some sort of data, whether it be prices, if you're doing DeFi or whatever application, whatever the contracts are being used for. So ultimately, that's what PYTH does. And obviously there's competition there, like Chainlink and so on. The difference here that PYTH offers, the value proposition, is speed. Right? And we have to understand that speed is a hot topic lately. There's a lot of layer ones coming out, a lot of hot layer ones, Sui, and of course we can even Solana. PYTH is part of the Solana narrative, given the fact that PYTH is the oracle for Solana projects, because it can keep up with the speed of Solana. So if you think that PYTH can add some value to the space by providing speedy oracle service provider, ultimately, it could eventually become a project that is intertwined with a lot of blockchains that are basically fast. And if that's the case, PYTH could do very, very well. Now, if you look at the price action based on, the bullishness based on utility, you can see the price action is absolutely perfect. Like, it's absolutely great because invalidation is clear. You have a nice sideways structure after a downwards clear trend at horizontal supports where previous levels of accumulation. Guys, if you follow me here, you know what yellow boxes mean. Guys, I've been saying accumulate in this level. Definitely, this is where I took a bit of profit and I let it run, right? I just let it run, and then we, identified the bearish divergence and it was over. But guess what, guys? The price is back there again. What are you going to do about it? Is it time to get bullish, or is it time to expect this to continue down and potentially get into a bear flag? It could be. But really, guys, this looks like a nice pivot point structure. And the reason why I say that is because you can see that the bottoms are a little roundish, especially this one. It starts to give me accumulation feelings, right? We went up for a higher high, we came down for a higher low, and now we're playing with a higher high, trying to break above the 200 daily EMA. This could be the last dip before the bulls build enough strength, picking up bullish bids at lower levels to actually break out of resistance. And if you zoom in here, and I'm going to show you what I mean, the majority of the resistance is right around here, 38 cents. Tops, 200 daily, and volume confirmation. We end up going very weak in volume bit by bit above the 39-cent zone. And you can see if you include all this price action, we have a huge amount of volume. But if you exclude this price action and you look at what's been happening here in the immediate short term, you start to see that, yeah, maybe there is a little bit of a gap here. Maybe we could snap to a little bit higher levels. Maybe we could get some of these people liquidated that shorted in this level that are still holding a red bag. Or maybe those individuals are going to sell in the market because they just want to break even and get out of their trades. You get what I mean? So ultimately, a break of this level is going to start to get emotional for the market. And playing on emotions is a very good strategy. The market is very emotional, and if you can get in and use emotions to your advantage, of course, those are the best opportunities. Right now, I can see that people are getting emotional from one perspective. And it's not just PYTH's chart that can demonstrate this. It's even Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, it's the entire market. Guys, we're very sideways and boring for like an extended amount of time, which means that ultimately people are getting bored and emotional and capitulating based on time. Unfortunately, but it's the truth. And if we want to see the retail market get back in here, we need to give them a reason to want to get back in. And it's all about the gains. However, guys, those first gainers that get early entries are the ones that are going to basically attract the retail market. Why? Because those first new gainers, such as us, that were here early trying to accumulate bags at lower levels, are going to start yapping about our gains on social media, amongst our friends, amongst our colleagues, and so on. And that's what's going to get people interested, right? So we're so early that there's no real reason for retailer to get in yet because we don't have any proof of gains yet, as can be seen. Look at PYTH, look at the altcoin market. Pretty stagnant, pretty bearish at times, still sideways, and still looking for that pivot point structure from bearish to bullish, and eventually changing directions from lower lows and lower highs to higher highs and higher lows. Pivot point structures is what we look for, and that's where we should take a bit of risk. Okay, so that's that. That's enough about the rant, because the daily is the best time frame at the current moment to deal with. Let's look at momentum and oscillators. You can see that even though we did go up here a little bit, we didn't get overbought in any extreme way. And what's interesting to me is that PYTH at the current moment is toying with a new expansion. And I'm going to make this big so that I can show you what I mean. Right here, you can see that there's a bit of an expansion forming, similar to what happened here. You can see the beginning of an expansion. And like I mentioned, we didn't get above the 70 here, right? So we're due for a continuation to the upside to see PYTH momentum eventually get overbought. And when that happens, guys, that's where we usually get the biggest move to the upside. You can backtest this. Go check it out. Every time the momentum gets above 70, this is where we definitely get a push to the upside, a big one. Now, in the meantime, we can see volatility, which is the orange line. You can see the volatility is going against the trend of the momentum. Not a good thing in the short term. So what I would like to see is volatility get down here. and then start entering long positions for a push to the upside. Because if momentum is going up and volatility is going up, guys, that's a perfect recipe. Reason being is because we want momentum. We want momentum to the upside in this case, but we also want volatility, because if we have momentum going in a direction without volatility, which volatility always exists, but if the range is very small, it's very hard to trade. But we know that the momentum is going in a direction. That means that the range should be good. We should have trending price action. And if we have trending price action based on momentum, we should be able to capitalize on the volatility to the upside. And that's exactly what I plan on doing. So building positions down here is an ideal scenario. Now, I'm focusing on margin positions in the next little while. Definitely PYTH is on my list to potentially get exposure, because it's a utility that a lot of the new layer ones that are fast may need in the future, and not just Solana. So it's definitely interesting. Now, if you look at the trend oscillator, let's minimize this one. That's momentum. This is the trend oscillator. You can see there's a bit of divergence right here on the daily. I can see that. Could we invalidate? Very possible. Could we eventually continue bullish? Look at this indecision right here. I don't like this. We went, a bit bearish, a red histogram bar, and then said, no, you turn back bullish again. This is very indecisive price action. It bothers me, right? So it's very hard to trust this, but you can see how the divergence is happening as the momentum is making a lower expansion, suggesting that the bears or the bulls are showing a little bit of weakness on this last push to the upside. Obviously at resistance the way it is, it does suggest that maybe we do roll over. So I'm keeping my eyes out here, because we could have a red weekend, and we're seeing a bit of weakness out here in Bitcoin. And obviously there are things happening in the news that could bring a little bit of bearishness, and of course we'll talk about news tonight, and there's some bullishness that is happening in the news, of course. But at the end of the day, which is going to be the main catalyst to get these altcoins going? And usually it's the last capitulation event, and then we spring really, really hard. When are we going to get it, guys? Nobody knows, but prepare accordingly, because ultimately you don't want to be left behind. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.